message. I was told to deliver this message. I was told to deliver this message.
Assalamu alaikum, family. It's your brother Landon X, and you are here for another episode of Revolutionary Relationships, dealing with the courtship process. My sincere apologies. It's been about a week since we gave you the last installment, but what you're doing right now, you're watching us on our new time slot, Sunday afternoons or evenings. That's the best time for us to get this out here. But you, again, are watching Revolutionary Relationships, and we're dealing with the courtship process. This is part 6. This is part 6, and this is going to be a heavy one. So definitely, carve out some time to make sure you get this one in. As always, with Revolutionary Relationships, this is not a lecture. It's not us talking at you or directly at you. This is a cyber cipher. This is an opportunity for everyone to chime in with any questions, comments. It's also not just for single individuals. This is for even our married brothers and sisters who want to chime in with their advice or their questions. Some people are married and didn't even realize some of the aspects of the science of mating and the science of courting that we go over in this. So this is it's almost like an online study group of sorts. I call it a cyber cipher. And this is, of course, I'm not too sure who this is over here to my right, but she always sticking around. But no, I'm just playing. This is my beautiful wife, Sister Shauna Joy X, and I'm your brother, Brother Landon X. We've been married for exactly 2 beautiful years. I don't know about all that, but 2 beautiful years. And what we're doing, we're just trying to, we've already cleared that hurdle of courtship. And we've always heard so many questions and comments, not just from other believers in the Nation of Islam, but just of courtship and possible, courtship in general. And let me go ahead and start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praises are due forever. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be right and exact, and down to the modern times. And lastly, I bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is indeed our divine leader, teacher, guide, and our last chance, and the last chance for humanity, if humanity would understand. And in those 3 great names, I greet you all in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Now, as I mentioned before, this is a group effort. We just the ones, who putting it on. We're not the ones with, I don't want you to think this is just us, like I said, lecturing you. And we're not putting ourselves out there in any way, shape, or form as a standard. We're students in the class. We're students in the class. We're students in the circle, students, just another scientist in this circle of gods as we deal with this. And it also may be some of you watching who are not registered members of the Nation of Islam. Don't turn that dial. This is perfect, because what you're going to find through this understanding is going to answer a lot of questions that you may have had, or a lot of myths that you may have had in your mind about the believers in the Nation of Islam and what we believe and don't believe. And just it humanizes us, and we all need to see each other. Aboriginal people need to see each other as humans, because this enemy has made us to look at each other, in strange ways. So this is an all-inclusive program, and today we're dealing with, for those of you who have a copy of the Courtship Manual, I want to also remind you that, hey, if you want a copy of the Courtship Manual, this is the Nation of Islam's comprehensive Courtship Manual. This is the basis of what we're going over. So the things that we're going over are not my opinion. It's not something that I drew up or my wife drew up. This is something that was put together by believers in our headquarters in Chicago, and is based on the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. If you want a copy of this, hit us up. Hit us up. It's best to do it. Send us a direct message to NationTown. You can also put it in the comments, but it's better. We'll be more likely to see it if you go ahead and put it in the comments, or put it in a direct message, and we'll get it over to you. We've already emailed about, 12 copies of it, or close to it, to some of our viewers, but this is the basis of what we're actually going over. So we're going to go ahead and get started as soon as you hear from this lovely lady to my right. I forgot her name. What's your name again?
Oh, you know my name.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, beloved. I would like to greet you all in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. And I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. And he mercifully came to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom all praises are due forever. I further bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the first begotten of the dead, and the exalted Christ, and that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the divine mercy in our midst, the Son of God, the Jesus, of our time. And it is in those holy and righteous names that I greet you all again with the greeting words of peace of Assalamu Alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you all for tuning in. Family, we greatly appreciate your time. That is so valuable and precious, and we encourage all questions and comments. You all really fuel this show, this cyber cipher, so please bless us with your questions and your comments. And again, I'm usually behind the scenes, so please, I will apologize in advance. You will see me looking down often. I'm working, doing the normal things that I do behind the scenes, even though I'm in front of the camera tonight. So don't think that I'm neglecting you all, or I'm just being whatever. That's not at all the case. I love you all, and I appreciate your time and your presence with us, but I'm still handling a little business too.
All praise due to Allah, and yes, she is being whatever
Don't
that
listen
means.
to him. Don't listen to him.
Did you bring up the comments? I'm not sure how to do it on that. But also, we want to further encourage everyone that's watching to hit us up with the comments. We're gonna pull up the comments real quick so we can shout out and see everybody that's shouting us out. And if you have any questions or comments, definitely make sure that you hit us up. I want to give a shout out to Real Love. Assalamu alaikum family, we see you. Brother Eric Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
All praises due to Allah. Man, may Allah bless your union. I hope you got home safely, brother. I know you and the Queen were traveling. Apparently you did get home safely by the grace of Allah. Shout out to Sister Valerie Muhammad. That's right.
That's my sis.
All praises due to Allah. Stacy B. Conscious. Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, dear sister. Thank you, dear sister. All praises are due to Allah for that compliment. And again, we want to let you all know that if you have any questions, you want to chime in or add to. We have believers like Brother Eric that's been married for a while. You know, we have believers who have been married. But I'm gonna say this before I go any further. Something that I'm noticing in the ranks of Muhammad that I think is so beautiful. I'm noticing believers who have been married, but for whatever reason, the marriage or marriages didn't work out, but they still have zeal and they are still interested in the process and they still want to complete their faith in marriage. That says a lot about that particular person. When they make a couple of mistakes and they don't get so bitter, they don't start generalizing the opposite sex to the point where they feel like, I'm done with that, I've been there, done that, and give up on the process. So I think that's beautiful. I've met quite a few believers with that same spirit. And let's make sure we keep that spirit because, hey, this is an important aspect of what we do, just as Aboriginal people, because all the stuff we talk about, and this is why we call it revolutionary relationships, as you see on the screen graphic. We call it revolutionary relationships because you can't call yourself a revolutionary, you can't call yourself conscious, you can't call yourself woke if you don't see the value in the opposite sex in the Aboriginal family. Even if you're not married, even if, whatever the case may be, but when you see the value and you understand how important it is, because if you think about it, all of our greatest freedom fighters, they came home to a freedom fighter. Think about that. I'm gonna say it again, all of our greatest freedom fighters, I don't care what their religion is or whatever, Dr. King, Medgar Evers, Brother Malcolm, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they didn't come home to an empty house. They didn't come home to a cold bed. They didn't come home, to war. They didn't go out fighting one war and then come home to a new war. They came home to another freedom fighter who was just as important in the struggle as they were, and that's important. So you can't really call yourself a revolutionary if you don't see the value in completing your faith. Whether you're male or female, it's important. If you're going to be a revolutionary or you care about the revolution of our people, then you have to understand that the science of mating is something that is important to us. We always like to touch on the actual definition of courtship in this series dealing with courtship as it explains in the courtship manual. Courtship defined. Courtship is the intentional process in which two people formally decide to engage in discovery to find out whether they share enough compatibility characteristics in crucial areas to get engaged and married. According to Webster's dictionary, the word courtship means the act, process, or period of courting or wooing. Woo, W-O-O, means to try to get the love of, seek as a spouse, or to cultivate. Courtship is the season in which a couple officially and deliberately seek confirmation concerning God's will for marriage by deepening the emotional and spiritual aspects of their friendship. All praise is due to Allah. So again, all those who want to chime in, make sure you chime in. Do we have any opening comments, questions before we continue?
Not at this time.
Now, what
They're gonna roll in.
Yeah, so where we're going, for those of you who have a copy of the manual, you want to go to page 24, because that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with some heavy, I guess you could call them some FAQs, frequently asked questions, when it comes to just the overall courtship process, but specifically the courtship process as we are taught and as we go about it, or I should say strive to go about it in the Nation of Islam. So we're going to get that rolling. I hope y'all can read that. First and foremost, at the very, well, not the very top, but where you see it, let me make sure I got the right one up. Boom. Is that it? Here we go. All right, so this is actually the first one we're going to deal with. Y'all probably got a sneak peek at some of the major ones. The first one that's up is permission and or approval needed to court someone. This is in the courtship manual. Is permission and or approval needed to court someone? Now, we got this question a few times in some of the previous episodes, and this is coming straight out of the manual. So I'm gonna go ahead and read it. No one's permission or approval is needed to court someone, although out of courtesy, one should inform the laborers. The laborers are informed by going through the above mentioned process. However, this process should not be misinterpreted to mean that you must wait for permission. So I'm gonna stop right there, because one thing that I noticed when I first started to do my own research on courtship in the Nation of Islam, and also I began to reactivate my social media presence, I noticed there was a lot of, disappointment and I guess you can call it slack talk. I won't say a whole lot, but just some believers blaming laborers or leadership for so-called sabotaging their courtship requests or dragging their feet. And I found it so refreshing to read this in the courtship manual that it's basically saying you don't need permission. It is, it's smart to notify the laborers through the process of putting in paperwork, letting your upline know. Your upline, we have a military structure in the Nation of Islam, for those that don't know, FOI, MGT. And that's all a protection for the MGT and the FOI. And we're going to touch on another question in a moment where, it also explains why you want to let, your upline know about it, because there's some things, because they might know something or might be able to gather some pertinent information about that person that you're interested in that may, keep you from wasting your time. They might not even be in good standing. It may be known that they're going through something very difficult that could seriously hinder the situation. But I want y'all to chime in with comments and questions on that. But just so we clear, the laborers are informed by going through the above mentioned process. However, this process should not be misinterpreted to mean that you must wait for permission. So for all of those saying, oh man, I wanted to court so-and-so, man, but my captain hated on me. That's false. You hated on yourself, bruh. You hated on yourself. You hated on yourself. If somebody is, now one thing that may happen, I'm not saying this has happened, but one thing that shouldn't happen, nobody should poison the well. Nobody should to tell a brother, no man, you shouldn't court her. or sister, you shouldn't court him. You know, if you have pertinent information that you want to give to that person, you're free to give it to them. But just make sure it's actual fact, and make sure you're not trying to sway their mind, because in most cases with a potential courtship, these are two people that don't know each other. They might know of each other, but they don't really know each other. So one little word from somebody might, you know, turn them in a different direction. But if you're interested in someone, find out for yourself, because guess what? That's what courtship is. It's about discovery. So if you're still in that mindset, and we're gonna touch more on this in a minute, if you're still in that mindset that courtship is Muslim boyfriend, girlfriend, then you gotta come out of that, because courtship is about discovery. So if you're asking the right questions, you're looking for the right things, then you're gonna find out for yourself. You're gonna find out for yourself what's going on with that person. But did you wanna comment on that?
Well, you basically, you know, cleared it all. Only thing I would say is, like my husband mentioned, you know, and like the courtship manual itself says, that you do not need permission. However, it just may be a good look to notify, you know, the laborers, or ask the laborers, you know, let them know I would like to court this individual. Because if you're looking to do exactly what the courtship is instructing you to do, the means of it is to take that individual to court, to get as much information and evidence on that individual as possible, to see if you have enough if you're like-minded enough, like characteristics, goals, things of this nature, to make a good match. You know, it would be good to go to some of the sources, such as our captains, such as our laborers, you know, who have some of that information that could let you know some of that information that will already be divulged during a courtship in the first place. You know, so again, it's your choice. But if you're, you know, my opinion, I know I went when I was courting, I'm like, okay, contact their first minister, or contact their you know, such and such, and let them know, you know, this is a brother, this is his name. So they got some phone calls. And you know, we wanted, you know, I wanted to know from, if I could get sources outside of him that were reliable, you know, trust my brother word now. I know my husband is an upright man, but then I had to find out.
All praises due to Allah. And I'm gonna finish reading that excerpt from the courtship manual. Is permission and or approval needed to court someone? It also says no official should deliberately block a believer from courtship, and no laborer, I want to read this slow and clear, because it's obvious that just looking at some of the posts on social media, there's a lot of believers that don't know this. No laborer has any authority over who a believer chooses to court. If the laborers have concerns about someone, they should arrange to meet the brother and the sister and share their concerns and or counsel them. However, an official should not try to control or unduly interfere in personal business or courtship of any believer. Now let's deal with the source of this. The reference to this, the source of this, is the courtship interview with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Atlanta, Georgia, May 2005 webcast on July 30th. Interesting, July 30th, 2006. I pointed out that's interesting, but you know, for those who may have forgotten or not aware, July 30th is also the day in 1972 where the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad set the minister in his seat and said, when you see him, look at him. Wherever he says go, go. Wherever he says stay from, stay from. I thought that was interesting. But there it is, family. So all of y'all, you know, kicking and screaming on social media. First of all, we need to cut that out. I don't want to change the subject, but for the believers who have any disappointment within the ranks, keep it within the ranks and show that you're a military. Military don't mean nothing about wearing a uniform. It don't mean nothing about what you call yourself. It's about how you carry yourself. You know, there's some dope boys in the street that show militancy. You know, they're devils who show militancy. So make sure you're not being out, you know, military by savages. Make sure that if you call yourself a God, let's be a God about it. Take all your grievances to someone who can actually do something about it, not just, you know, setting up little circle jerks where you're sitting around, crying about something that's not even real. So this exposes that fact that if you felt like somebody interfered or they tried to hinder it, that was probably just in your mind, or you didn't know the law for yourself enough to do what was necessary. So do we have any questions or comments? Let's make sure we scroll through it, see what we have. First of all, again, we want to keep making sure that all of y'all are that you're actually, being involved with what's going on and what we're saying. This is not just about us talking at you. We want you to, this is an interactive cyber cipher that we're going through right now. So, assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam to Brother Daniel. Who else we have on here? Wa alaikum salam to Sister Kawanza Smith. All praises due to Allah. And hit us with those questions. But the next one we have, we're going to get to that in a minute, but I want to hear from my wife how she feels about the permission and or approval. Do you have anything else to add to that permission or approval to court someone?
No, sir.
Praise be to Allah. So what we're going to do now, if you have a comment that pops up or a question that pops up later and we've already passed it, listen, this ain't no dictatorship, man. Like I said, this is an open thing. Even if you have a question that we may have already touched on, because this is part 6. But what we're going to strive to do with each one, if you notice, with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, with a lot of the mosque meetings in the Nation of Islam, especially our Sunday meetings, we start off and we remind everyone that's listening with the basics of what we believe. If you ever buy the Final Call newspaper, and if you caught black without a final call in your household, boy, you in bad shape. You something like, I ain't calling you a coon, but you something like it. But every issue of the Final Call, the back page has the Muslim program, what the Muslims want and believe, because you never know. Not only do there are a lot of black people who don't know how we operate, but it's a lot of Aboriginal people who are very distracted, so you may forget. And we're gonna kind of touch on some of those myths and things that might pop up. So we're gonna go back to the manual. We're gonna cut through it. The second comment is how long should a brother be in the mosque before asking for a sister in courtship? How long should a brother be in the mosque before asking for a sister in courtship? Now keep in mind, this goes both ways, and we're gonna touch on that a little bit in a moment as well. But it says if a sister has been in the mosque for a significant amount of time and the brother is just coming in and he sees a sister, it is better not to court. I'm gonna say that again. It is better not to court. Let that brother get trained in the way of God for at least 3 to 9 months. A sister cannot take a chance on marrying someone who just popped up out of the grave, because you are putting yourself under the authority of someone who will not have the wisdom to guide a wife and family. I gotta stop right here. Right here. Man, people. Now, this is a issue where we gotta consider the world that we live in and what we coming out of, because unfortunately, due to what black men have been made into by enemy and what we have allowed ourselves to be made into, there are a lot of situations where even when a man and a woman are present in a relationship or in a household, it's the woman who has to take the dominant role in finances, the dominant role in all aspects of rearing the children, the dominant role in business. Nowadays, when somebody comes to someone's house, a salesman or for any business reasons, they ask for the woman of the house. Once upon a time, they asked for the man of the house. So sisters are dealing with that, and they come into the ranks of Muhammad, or even if they've always been in the ranks of Muhammad, it's 168 hours in the week. So you might be at the mosque X amount of hours, maybe 10 to 15 total the whole week. So you're going to spend most of your time in the world. So a lot of sisters these days have been conditioned to handle everything themselves. and just do things and then what that unfortunately does, some sisters might think, yeah, he just got in the ranks. Yeah, he on, he still think he don't really know what Islam is. He probably think, bean pies are made out of pinto beans. But you know what? I can work with him because I'm the woman at the house, and that's all right. I can help him. I can help him with his PlayStation skills. I can help build him up. And I think a lot of our sisters even have that spirit because somebody got to have it in some of these households. But sisters, don't put yourself at risk, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to have a bad experience, and then there's a high probability that bitterness might set in, and generalization might set in. And you might say, oh, I'm just through with these Negroes. I tried this, I tried that, and he did this and did that. And then you're going to miss out on the real brother, the one that Allah really forged for you, because you're bitter about somebody in a situation that shouldn't have happened in the first place. You want to touch on that, sister?
Yes. Time tells all truths. So let's say that an individual, this is for the sister side or for the brother side, that does come into the mosque brand new, fresh out of the grave clothes still on, dusty, and you're like, oh man, I like that. Look, if that individual is for you, then 3 to 9 months down the line, if Allah truly intends that individual for you, they're still going to be for you 3 to 9 months down the line. So it's best to give that person the time to grow and to thrive in their Islam and to get rooted in their Islam. It's not just best for yourself, it's best for that individual, and it would be best for you all as a family. If they are meant for you and you all come into a relationship too early, you all still may last, but you may go through some unnecessary difficulties that could have been averted if the time was given for that individual to be properly rooted in their Islam and to get the understanding, and for them to see and for you to see, that what Allah has for you, no man can take away.
All praises due to Allah. And keep in mind, brothers and sisters, there's training going on. In our lessons, it spells out the meaning of MGT and the meaning of FOI. With the FOI, that's the name given to the military training that belong to the men that belong to Islam in North America. So there's military training going on, and they are trained to understand that they belong to Islam. So if you get a brother and oh yeah, I like him, he look real good in that crooked bow tie, let me pull him, let me get him before any other sister get it. See, now he's at a point where he doesn't belong to Islam yet. And he doesn't have that military training. Military don't just mean drilling and acting like you hard. It's a lot of discipline in there. So you're taking an undisciplined and brother who still belongs somewhat to the world. That don't mean he out there shooting dice and getting high and selling dope and killing people. Let's stop. Our standards have lowered so much where we think if I ain't killed nobody in the last 48 hours, and I ain't shipped no keys across, from Bolivia in the last month, then I'm a good person. That's what we think now. But there's a lot of people who still have worldly ways. Let that brother cook. Let him cook in the oven for a minute before you go, snatching him out and trying to do something. And then in the sisters, the meaning of MGT, it talks about the 7 units. And I heard a sister say once that those 7 units have a deeper meaning just in what they mean. Like it talks about, it teaches the sister how to sew. Do you know God is a seamstress? He's a seamstress. He made us in the best of molds. He made us in his image and his likeness, so he seamed us together to look like him. This is his favorite outfit right here. This is his favorite garment, that aboriginal skin that you have. So you want to get somebody that's been cooked and well seamed and well sewn together, and you want to let Muhammad get their hands on them as much as possible before you go snatching them into some relationship. Because like I said, what's going to happen, brother or sister, is that if it's a bad situation, we taught by this world to generalize. We get it from the white man. He likes to generalize us. You know how we walk up in the store and he looking at us funny? following us all around the store. That's that generalization, and we get that from them. So what's gonna happen? You're gonna have a bad experience, and then you're gonna start generalizing the opposite sex. You're gonna think, oh yeah, I tried that Muslim courtship stuff. He was supposed to be a FOI, but he did this. Oh yeah, she's supposed to be MGT, but she did this. But man, you you courted them 5 minutes after they stood up and accepted the teachers, brother. I mean, so they weren't even half baked. They just got none. They ain't got warm yet. So let Muhammad put their hands on them first and shaping them up and dust off some of this world. Ain't none of us perfect, but at least give them a time, and it gives us a time frame of 3 to 9 months. Shout out to Brother Daniel. I saw your request for a copy of the Courtship Manual. I'll make sure I stay on her.
It's already been sent.
To make sure to make sure you get it, because she been slacking.
Check your email,
so
sir.
I gotta step up on that duty. All praises due to Allah. Now we're gonna move on with that particular. I want to finish reading that actual excerpt where it's asking about how long should a brother be in the mosque before asking for a sister. It further says, let that person come into the nation and get grounded into the way of Allah and the messenger. Then it would be proper to court. But just to scope a person coming in that you saw accept the faith, then you want to start courting, that is not wise. And this is coming from, we got receipts on all of this that we telling y'all.
That's right.
This comes from the courtship interview with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in Phoenix, Arizona, June 30th, 2006. So, listen, we all beautiful people. So sister, I know you see that brother just came in the race, man, looking handsome. And we can clean a brother up quick. The FOI can clean a brother up quick. The MGT can clean a sister up quick. But just make sure that there's something up under that bow tie, something up under that headpiece that can really sustain a relationship. And keep in mind, the reason why we strongly invite those who may not even be registered Muslim into this cyber cipher is because, listen, the actual definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. There's almost 100%, I hate to say it like this, but it's almost 100% dissatisfaction amongst the Aboriginal man and the Aboriginal woman in North America when it comes to relationships. Brothers can talk all day about everything that they don't like about our sisters. Sisters can write books, and some of them have, about everything that bothers them about the man. So obviously what we've been doing and the way we've been going about this thing has been wrong. And when I say we, I'm talking about the whole Aboriginal family, regardless of religion or affiliation. So everything we're doing and suggesting is something different from what you've been doing, so you could, inshallah, get a better result. So do we have any, it looks like we got a question right there.
We have my beloved Sister Tawana, who just got pinned with her MGT and GCC bar pin today with all her beautiful family in the house. All praise belongs to Allah. Such a beautiful sight. She has a question.
Muhammad got
she
the
says,
devil on the run.
That's right. She says, you touched on what a healthy relationship is. Can you expound on unhealthy relationships as well?
That is a good question. Yeah. That was something that we touched on previously, and that's such a good question. I want to read it directly from, I don't have it to bring up on the screen, but this is coming from directly from the Courtship Manual. Great question, Sister Tawana. It says, what does an unhealthy relationship look like? And I'm reading straight from the manual. It says, an unhealthy relationship is marked by poor communications, poor conflict, anger management, excessive arguing, distrust, lack of respect, use of emotional, economic, or physical abuse, rigid understanding of gender roles, my way or the highway attitude, poor parenting, is overly critical, judgmental, or pressures you into doing something against your will and not taking responsibility for one's behavior, either by denial and shifting blame, prevents or discourages you from having outside interests, friends, or uses isolation. So those are the things, and that's a lot of things, but those are the things that where an unhealthy relationship looks like. And it's not a coincidence, in my humble opinion, that the first thing that they mention is poor communication. Let's get out and see the world, and it looks like we got a comment or a question, but I gotta say this. Hollywood and the world has got men and women coming home thinking that the opposite sex is supposed to read our minds. Brothers come through the door huffing and puffing and grunting. It's beautiful if you've been married 20, 30 years and you can read your spouse. But your spouse shouldn't have to read you, man. That's supposed to be your best friend. That's your, for those who are familiar with boxing, that's your corner right there. That's your corner man. That's your corner woman. They should be, it's got to be communicated. Imagine somebody going in, Deontay, Wilder, somebody going to the corner and they boxer trainer ain't telling them nothing. He just, spraying water in his mouth and saying, all right, nigga, get back in there. I mean, he would win one fight. There's got to be communication, and I think that's the biggest part, and that really undergirds all those other things that it mentioned. Good question, sister.
Excellent question,
what's
beloved.
the comment?
Brother Michael Muhammad, my brother and his sister Giselle, another beautiful couple out of Mosque 27 with a beautiful family.
M3.
Yes. He says, man, thank you, sir. He says, make sure they get themselves some auditing in. Awesome.
Come on.
Yes, sir, that part. And one more thing. I just have to say, what's up, cuz? My cousin and my cousin's wife, my sister, Kanisha and Walter are watching. Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in.
Assalamu alaikum. And shout out to Brother M3 and his wonderful wife, Sister Giselle. Also, shout out to Brother Lieutenant Captain, Student Minister, Emeritus, Lil Mikhail. That brother, in my humble opinion, I know most of y'all watching, you are not believers in Mosque 27, but we have some really beautiful examples of Muslim relationships and Muslim marriages. I ain't saying nobody perfect, but man, it's so beautiful to see just Aboriginal people come together, working through their differences, and at the same time raising beautiful children, intelligent children who ain't even being educated by this world. And Brother M3, we call him M3, Brother Michael, and his lovely wife are beautiful examples of that. And I want y'all to chime in as often as y'all possibly can, because we need that experience on a topic like this. All praises due to Allah. Do we have another one?
Yes, sir. Brother Daniel, thank you, sir. He
Assalamu
says, Assalamu alaikum, family. Wa alaikum salam, sir. What about when your mate have something against what you believe in and give you hell, but you cut them loose? Ooh,
well, brother, that comes into why it's important to be equally yoked. It's important to be equally yoked, and you know what? I don't think we've touched on it in this fashion before. Don't automatically assume that since the person that you're courting calls themselves a Muslim, calls themselves a follower of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, calls themselves a follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that y'all equally yoked. Y'all might have some difference in opinion on your vantage point. If we're walking down the street, you walking in one direction, I'm walking in the other, and there's a car accident, or there's a shooting, or there's a murder, or there's a robbery, and if we both snitches, when the police come, we might both give different accounts of what we saw based on our vantage point. I probably saw it from behind a tree. You were probably 10 feet closer. I was probably 10 feet further away. So that's another thing that the courtship process is for, that even if you are both registered believers, you gotta make sure that y'all equally yoked, and y'all looking at, your brother, the brother you courting, dear sister, might be in the ranks just because, you know, he saw the economic aspects of the nation and what we believe economically, and he was like, oh man, I'm with that, do for self. But he cool on everything else. He really don't believe God is a man. He really don't believe in the will. He really don't believe in Prophet Muhammad revealing the Holy Quran. He really don't believe in the most honorable Elijah Muhammad being the messenger. But he might not believe in all of that, but he just rolling with it because he just overall respect the brotherhood. And, you know, so you got to figure that kind of stuff out. And as the brother is asking, you know, it's the same thing. You got to make sure, because listen, the Sister Tawana asked a beautiful question about what an unhealthy relationship looks like. And look at all those problems we just named. Bad communication, excess arguing. These are all things that happen in the best marriages, the best relationships. Now imagine if on top of all of those challenges that come with a destroyed black man trying to properly love a destroyed black woman, that's a challenge in itself. But then on top of that, y'all got to argue about the teachings, you know. And here's what's going to happen, you know, and it's believers that might not like this. It's, you know, it's people who might say, well, you know, I'm not a Muslim, but my husband is, or I'm not a Muslim, but my girl is. Listen, here's what's going to happen. When we get, I'm just going to use a very, very studious and academic word. When we get ignorant, we start aiming below the belt. And we start trying to push buttons that we know will make the other person irritated. And what's going to end up happening? You in a relationship with somebody who's not a believer, and they gonna say something like, well, see, that's you acting like that because you hanging around them Muslims talking about God is a man. You old God is a man, and nigga, you know, and then it's over. Now you gonna snap. Either it's the sister that's gonna snap because she really about this MGT life, or the brother's gonna snap because he really about that FOI life. And now you got an extra problem in your head. Now y'all going at each other's head over God, over religion. That don't even sound right. So that's what courtship is for. Courtship is not boyfriend and girlfriend. Courtship is where you find out what they really believe about what you believe. And vice versa. And find out, are you cool with that? And if they shrug their shoulders and say, well, you know, I ain't really with all that Muslim stuff, but I can deal with that. Dig into that. Don't just brush over there and say, oh, okay, cool. No, dig into that. What is it that you don't really like? Because I'm going to tell you, brothers and sisters, if you having a hard time bringing them to the mosque, you know, but they say they love you, I mean, they'll go anywhere else with anything else you like. You know, if you like going to old school concerts, you know, you like going to see the OJs, you know what I mean, the Delphonics or whatever. Or if you a hardcore hip hop fan and you love going, you know, you want to go to the Nasca, she'll come to you to that. Oh, sister, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm a big Wu-Tang fan. So if Wu-Tang come to town, I'm there. She'll say, okay, I'm coming. Oh, I'm a big Outkast fan. If Outkast show up, I'm there. Okay, I'm coming. Oh, I'm a big Cowboys fan. The Cowboys playing in the city, I'm going, okay, I'm there. Okay, sister, I'm a big Muslim. I'm a hard driving FOI. So every Sunday I'm going to the mosque. I'll stay home and cook. See, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. So you want somebody that's equally yoked. And equally yoked is not just about what you call yourself, it's what they really believe. You want to touch on that,
Yes.
Queen?
Brother, he commented again. He said, yes, sir, I'm referring to being with ones from the grave.
Right.
So just in that aspect, you know, and I'm sorry, let me go back to the original question. I lost it, but I believe it was, you know, should you cut those loose if you have people that don't believe in your same beliefs? And man, I listen to so many lectures and do so much reading. I believe I read this in one of my studies earlier this week. The minister was saying that if you have friends that don't believe like you, but give you, like he said, I believe the brother said in his comment, if they're giving you hell, you know, those aren't your friends. And you don't need to, you don't need to be around them. You don't need to associate with them because this is your lifestyle. You know, this is what we believe is in some one day a week. You know, go to Sunday school and keep it moving the rest of the week. I'm raising hell and then I'm an angel on Sunday. You know, this is a lifestyle. This is something that we're striving to live. So how hypocritical would it be? You know, if we the very thing that is the nature of us, that is the essence of us, that gives us life. You know, and we're hanging around these people that they gotta go.
Yes,
ma'am. Just that simple. You know, they got to go because essentially then they have a problem with you. If your beliefs, like our belief system, is our life, we're living it, then you essentially have a problem with me.
And I think I missed that last part of that question. I apologize for that. You said, should you cut them loose? Let me deal with that real quick. The easy answer is be like, yeah, let them go. Choosing between them and God. That's pretty clear distinction, but not so fast, my friend. Like my man used to say on college football. You know, think about yourself. And when this lifestyle and this way of thinking and this belief system was first introduced to you, now we can have, this hindsight 2020 and what they call a revisionist history and act like, oh yeah, the first person that came and told me that the black man is God, I just fell in and went 100% right off the bat. And we all know it don't always work like that. A lot of us used a lot of deceptive intelligence. A lot of us dragged our feet. I'll come to the mosque, I will, but let me get this part of my life straight. Let me do this. Some of us were actually straight non-believers. Didn't want to believe it. Nah, I don't believe that. Nah, I don't believe God is a man. I don't believe that. I just, So, bottom line is, we are stiff-necked, hard-hearted, rebellious people. All of us. So give that person the benefit of the doubt and at least get the blood off your hands and make a genuine effort with proper handling of people. Don't beat them up. Oh, you in the grave. You dead. I'm done with you. No, talk to them. Ask them and have a good sit-down communication. What is it about my lifestyle and what I believe that you don't believe? Break out the Quran. Break out the Bible. And give a concerted effort. If they're still rebellious, still stiff-necked and hard-hearted, hey, you gave them a shot. And then you want to go ahead and cut them loose. But, somebody, even if you were born in the Nation of Islam, for those that don't know, like, inshallah, when we have children, our child will be, quote-unquote, born in the nation. But later on in their life, they still have to get registered. They'll still have to write their own letter. And they'll still have to accept on their own. So regardless of what your background was in accepting the truth, there was a point where you had to accept it. And there was some stiff-neckedness, I'm gonna make a word up, stiff-neckedness or rebelliousness and hard-heartedness, some more than others, but there was some resistance that we all had. Some of us, it was just, delaying the process, procrastinating. That was my thing. I was procrastinating. I was using deceptive intelligence. I'll do it later. When I get this part of my life right, I'll do this and do that. But for all of us, there was because this world is so opposite to this lifestyle that there's always going to be some resistance. So don't take initial resistance as 100% rejection. Allah didn't give up on you when you showed your little bit of resistance. So don't be, and I'm not calling anybody a hypocrite, but don't be hypocritical by immediately giving up on somebody else. I had a beautiful experience today that my wife witnessed, where there was a brother right after the mosque meeting was walking down the sidewalk, and called himself coming to me and challenging me on the teachings with a little trick question. And I smashed the trick question, but I did it in the right spirit, and we had a beautiful exchange. He went from saying, no, I don't do religion, I ain't coming to meeting, to our final words being, yeah, brother, I'll be out this Sunday. So just like we show, resistance, but still Allah kept working on us, and we eventually, made that turn. Don't give up on them initially. Give them a shot. Try to sit down and be civil with them. If they still reject it, see, now your hands are clean. Now with clean hands, you can do an about face and move on. With that said, brothers and sisters, we're not going nowhere, but we will take a quick break, a quick commercial break, here on NationTown TV. Stay right there. We're not going anywhere. When we come back, we're going to be on for another maybe 20 minutes or so. But we're going to take this quick break, and we will be right back. And just like that, we back. So, do we have any other questions before I move on to the next one?
No, sir, but I just wanted to give a shout out to one of our most beautiful, consistent viewers, Sister Pamela K. Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, beloved. We adore you. Thank you so much for tuning in.
We're working on that cheesecake.
I know, right? And come on, you know you have some of the best questions and comments, so we're waiting for you, sis.
Oh,
We love the audience engagement, so keep all your beautiful comments and questions coming, and we're gonna move on along. With that being said,
Absolutely. So we're gonna go to the next round of the points that are in the courtship manual. Let me see what we have. And we're gonna deal with this at the very top. As you see, it says courtship, a family affair. A family affair. I like that. It says, according to Mother Tanetta, may Allah be pleased with our beloved sister, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that courtship is a family affair. In the civilized world, a man who asks for courtship of a sister first seeks the blessing of the parents, particularly the father. In many of our cases, the father is not present. Thus, one should seek the blessings of the mother. Where the mother and father are present, it is best to meet with both and inform them of your intentions. This is from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on a webcast, again, July 30th, 2006. And that's heavy. Now, that's another one that some people may have a problem with, but that's real old school, too. That's a lot of, elder brothers and sisters who remember what that was. That's just classy right there. That's just high class. That's high civilization to go to the parents. And, my thing is, if you're not willing to talk to the parents and go through them, what are you afraid of? What are you hiding? What do you have in mind with their son or their daughter where you don't feel the need? And it's not really about going to get that permission, but it is more so about getting that permission than it is with the laborers, because we at least want to get their blessings. And here's why, in my humble opinion. Because if it fails, if y'all get married, y'all have children, whatever the case may be, and it fails, guess who has to catch you on the way down when you fall? Your family. It's just, when a relationship is busted up, y'all get into a fight, where's sister gonna go? She gonna go to mama house. Mama, he tripping again. Or they might be the brother doing it. Mama, she tripping again. Daddy, he tripping again. So they the ones that's gonna have to catch y'all while y'all falling. They the ones that's gonna have to, while y'all in divorce court, they the ones that's gonna have to watch the babies. They the ones that's gonna have to pick up the pieces 9 times out of 10 when things go bad. And it's really not fair for you to do everything in private when it comes to coming together. But then when everything falls apart, now you expect the families to be all in and to put their hands on the plow. You know, it's some people where, you know, the families are expected to do everything when it comes to the wedding and whatnot. You know, and it's just not fair to involve them in all the hard work, all the negative work, all the sacrifice, but not involve them in the process, the entire process. It's just comfortable, man, when you know you met the family, they met you, they've talked. You know, it's just comfortable because now we know each other. So that's my opinion on that. You want to touch on that? Cool.
Yes. Well, I want to just give a shout out to a beautiful example of this that we have in our very own Mosque number 27, a newlywed beautiful couple. Oh my gosh, they're just the peach of our
Teach
eye,
on
the
them
apple of our
newlyweds.
eye. Sister Raisa and Brother Jabril Muhammad.
Oh,
and you know, I wasn't all up in their courtship, but I saw little things like when they got their family, or you know, from my vantage point, what I know of, you know, her family was very much involved in, you know, this union, you know, in the courtship in a positive manner. We're not talking, you know, oh, what he do? No, we're talking. Her parents were there when they got engaged. When they needed, when they would go on dates, they would be chaperoned by her parents. You know, that's what we're talking about when the family needs to be involved. You know, this is something, you know, for one, seek refuge in Allah first and foremost, you know, whether, you know, it falls apart or anything, but the family is going to be there most of the time. You know, some of the time I would hope, you know, that your family would be there. They're going to be there in the good times. They're going to be there in the bad times. So it definitely helps, you know, for them not to just come in, you know, right in the middle of it, but it's a transition in. This is something that's been interwoven into the whole process, you know, and the family knows your spouse, and the family knows you. So that's also a good, they're good people, like I spoke about earlier, that can give you counsel and can give you information about the other person, the spouse, your family. If you can go to your laborers and say, hey, you know, I want to check in on this person, who knows them even better than the laborers are the family, the parents, the siblings.
And not only do they know you, but they also love you. You know, it's no question that your family loves your raggedy behind. Sometimes they might sit up and think, why do I love this raggedy person, this raggedy Negro? But they really love you. Now, you may not be 100% convinced that your spouse loves you, or that you love your spouse, because y'all getting to know each other. You know, it might be a situation where she just think you just really cute, brother. And sister, it might be that he just really dig how you look, you know, in that garment or whatever. But you know for a fact, mama love you, daddy love you, cousins love you, family love you, and they love you. If you got hooked on crack tomorrow and came, you know, and stole all their stuff, pawned their TV, you know, they be mad as hell, but they would still love your raggedy behind. So these are people that really love you. Give them the chance to meet this person, or at least talk to this person that you're interested in, because whatever they tell you, 9 times out of 10, there may be some others. You know, we all, like I said, we all destroyed. But 9 times out of 10, anything that they say to you about your potential mate is gonna come out of love. It's gonna 100% come out of love, and you should put that on the table with every other thing that you're exploring with the courtship. Don't let that be end all. Mama don't like him, or daddy don't like her, or vice versa, whatever the case may be. That don't mean, okay, I'm gonna leave him alone, you know, but just put that on the table with everything else that you are exploring. But I want to get to this. Do we have any other questions? Because I got to get to this before we cut out of here. I got to deal with this next one, because this one, because it deals with a particular topic, but it deals with an even bigger issue that I wanted to touch on. I'm going to bring it back up. This is the second point that you see there. Is there any truth to a man marrying half his age plus 7? Answer, no. This appears to be a myth. Mother Tynetta, as she mentioned in the retreat in 2004, marriage retreat in 2004. In addition, Brother Minister Jabril Muhammad also has stated that he has never heard this from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and this is a brother who spent a lot of one-on-one time with the messenger. Whether this was stated or not, there is no rule in the Nation of Islam that you should or must marry half your age plus 7. Now, this is important not just because of the issue at hand, the question at hand, but it busts up myth and mythology, and he say, she say, in Islam. This myth was born, in my understanding, from a movie, a Hollywood movie, which is one of my favorite movies, Malcolm X, where they had this coming out of the messenger's mouth, the man who was portraying the messenger, telling Malcolm this. And it's absolutely not. No one who knew the messenger, knows the messenger. No one has bear witness that this is something that's in our teachings, and it's kind of silly. It's kind of silly. However, and I think there's another point on here that deals with it. The nation is not real stringent on age. As long as they're an adult and they're not already married, it's not, you don't really, an older brother can marry a younger sister, older sister can court a younger brother. But that whole half his age plus 7, and that's really important because there's some people I know that are either watching this now or going to watch this that are not registered members of the Nation of Islam, or may not have even visited a Muhammad Mosque or study group yet. So you might already have some misconceptions about the Muslims or about the minister that you got from some type of media or some kind of word of mouth. And keep in mind, word of mouth, especially the media ran by some of the biggest critics and enemies of Aboriginal people, first and foremost. Right. And more specifically, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So there's an ayat in the Holy Quran that says, when an unrighteous man brings you news, look carefully into it, lest you harm a people in ignorance and be sorry for what you did. So, be careful with these myths that you might think about Islam in general, especially something silly like this. I don't know where this came from, but a lot of people believed it. When I first saw Malcolm, it was long before I came in the ranks, and I was like, okay, that's what they believe, It didn't really sway me one way or the other. I just thought, okay, maybe there's some science to it. But it's just not factual. And Brother Minister Jabril, for those who don't know, Mother Tanetta Muhammad was a wife of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Brother Minister Jabril Muhammad, formerly known as Bernard Kushmir, spent countless hours at the table or at the foot, so to speak, of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So if it was said or something that was common knowledge from the messenger, these are two people who would obviously know. So I'm glad we had the chance to bust that up. Do we have any comments or questions before we move on?
Yes, Sister Tawana, she says, wow, never looked at it that way, but it makes so much sense. And I'm assuming this is in regards to the family affair. Right.
All praise due to Allah. Yeah, family is important. They love you. I know they ignorant. Come on now. I know my family ignorant. I'm gonna let her speak for her family.
My family's honest.
All right, whatever. But our family, they crazy, but they crazy about us too. So it's only fair. It's only fair because this is another thing. When you do get married, inshallah, if you marry this particular person that you're courting, you're also going to expect them to come to the wedding and drop everything they doing. Even if it's in a different state, you're going to expect them to come through. You're going to expect gifts. You're going to expect, salutations from them and all that kind of stuff. But you didn't include them at all in the courtship. That's kind of disingenuous. At least let them know. Even if they don't communicate directly with the person you court, let them know, hey, I'm courting this brother or I'm courting this sister. They from so-and-so and so-and-so. We're going through a process. If the process works out, we'll get married. Just let them know. It would be a real bad look if the first time they hear anything or have to deal with the person that you're courting is when something goes wrong. That's just not fair. And if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to move to the next point. The next point, I'm going to change this so that gets out the way. The next point is properly starting a courtship. Properly starting a courtship. This is the third point that you see on your screen. When an FOI sees an MGT that he thinks will make him a good wife, he should mention this to the minister, brother captain, or lieutenant to find out if he or she is available. A brother should never approach an MGT to inquire about her marital status or interest in him. And this goes both ways as far as I understand it. He should not hint or flirt. If he hasn't already been introduced, he should ask to be introduced to her. However, it is not recommended that you go into a courtship with a complete stranger with whom you've never as much as shared a conversation. The request to find out her availability is forwarded to the sister captain. If the sister being requested declines and does not wish to court, the brother captain will inform the FOI and he moves on. And this is vice versa. If she accepts, a meeting will be arranged for them to formally meet and counsel them on the rules of courtship. Now, this is obviously an important point, very important point. And here's why, in my humble opinion. First of all, the way something starts, especially like a relationship, will have a lot of bearing on how it ends or how it ends up. You know, so it's important that you start it off right. Here's something that I've noticed just in my own personal experiences. Everybody that I've met, this is in the mosque, not in the mosque, in the nation, not in the nation, years ago, all the way up to today, every brother or sister that I've met that's ever had anything negative to say about relationships with the opposite sex in general, anybody that's had something negative to say, I found out that there was something about the process that they went about in meeting and getting together with that person that was raggedy as hell. It never fails. Especially in the ones who are most vocal and most bitter. If you go and just take a glimpse back at how it all started, it was raggedy. Man, I can't believe she did me like that. She did this to me, she did that to me. She don't know how to cook. She be dressing like this and don't be doing this and don't be that. Where you meet her, bro, man? I met her at the strip club. Come on, brother. Come on. Even in the ranks, you know, every now and then a brother or a sister might vent about the opposite sex, and then you find out that, you know, they didn't let nobody know about the courtship. It wasn't even a courtship. It was boyfriend, girlfriend. They was holding hands at the park, smooching at, you know, at the theater, doing this, whoop-de-whoop and all of that. And then you like, wait a minute, y'all went about it all wrong. Y'all went about it all wrong. So the way it begins is going to tell you a lot about how it's going to end up. Even if it doesn't end up in marriage, even if y'all both decide that y'all not really compatible, you know, at least it can be a smooth transition if y'all started it off right. So set yourself up for success and just do it right. Do it right, and don't keep doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. You know, a lot of us come into this lifestyle and we say, oh, I don't like that. You know, I'm a grown man, I'm a grown woman. You know, if I want to hug her, touch her, if I want to do this and do this, I'm going to do it. Okay, but that's what's got you into it with your baby mama. And y'all still going to war to this day. So if you want another situation like that, be my guest, brother, and take that fire into your bosom. But yeah, so this is about doing something. This is about calling an audible on the foolishness that we've been doing and run another play. Run a new play, a new lifestyle, and a new process. Do we have another comment or question before we move on, or do you want to touch on that? Properly?
No, I agree exactly what my husband said, and we kind of spoke on that in a previous episode. And you know, like he said, you have to look at it just like the formation of the white man. Like he said, whatever is happening in the beginning, in the making of it, you know, in the environment, in the beginning of it, is what's going to be in the whole making and the product of it. So, you know, if the beginning of your courtship is based off of sneaking around, you know, playing Muslim girlfriend and boyfriend, you know, lies and deceit, go into that, that's going into the making of the marriage, and that's what you're going to have in your marriage. You know, so if you want something that's going to be righteous, you want something, and that's not to say that you're not going to encounter, you know, problems, but those, you don't want to make a problem for yourself.
That's
now,
right. That's right.
we have a question for my sister, Pamela K. She comes with them. She says, should you speak to all your courtmates, baby mothers, vice versa?
That's actually highly recommended if possible. You know, if it's a civil enough situation, civil, meaning that it ain't savage. You know, if it ain't Jerry Springer, if it ain't a Jerry Springer type situation, if it ain't a, well, these days it would be Real Housewives of whatever type situation where it's a bunch of drama. If it's civil enough to where, you know, I wouldn't recommend going to nobody's house. Even if you invited, sister, I wouldn't, don't go to her house. She might have something set up for you, man. But, you know, if you call, you introduce yourself in the situation, and she don't tell you what to do with yourself and hang up in your face, but she actually is receptive, then listen, but take it with a grain of salt. Take it with, you know, with knowing that, you know, they had a relationship that failed, and she may want all of his future. It reminds me. Oh man, that what was said on the episode of the Chappelle Show. They was talking about the haters ball, and he basically said, "I hope everything you do in your life fails." You know, that's sometimes we get like that. You know, when our relationships fail. So I think it actually says in our courtship manual that you should contact, especially if children are involved. Especially if children are involved. Now, if it's just an ex, that's up to you. You can take that as because you're investigating. This is a court procedure. So you want to know, but don't take it at face value. Think about it. Use common sense. If the sister say, oh, yeah, he ain't okay. Well, she probably just saying that because she want him to be miserable for the rest of his life, or vice versa. You know, he want her to be miserable for the rest of their life. So, you know, take it at a grain of salt. But if there are children involved, that means he's going to be seeing his children. He's going to have, you know, either temporary custody or longer of the children on weekends or whatever. And you're going to be with him. So she deserves to know who's going to be around her children, because it's her child too. Even though the relationship didn't work out, it's her child. So it's important, you know, she needs to know that. But just really study proper handling of people. I strongly commend any woman or brother who has reached out to a so-called baby mama or baby father and successfully had a conversation, a civil conversation. That really proves you grown. That really proves that both parties are really mature and grown. If they can take that phone call, have a civil discussion, and at the end of the discussion say, I appreciate you calling. You know, y'all ain't gotta be buddy and all that. Yeah, girl, kiki. In fact, if you too friendly with her, that's a bad sign, you know. But just at least be civil, and you know, it's very similar to the meeting of the families. It's very, because it is kind of family when children are involved. So I would highly recommend at least attempting it. Don't try to get blood from a stone. If you call her, or brother, you call him, and they slam the phone, you know, they hang up the phone in your face. Well, hey, you tried. They can't never accuse you of being this way or that way if you tried. But I would definitely recommend it. You want to put some on that?
Oh, I agree. Yes, and it does actually. It says that. Well, it doesn't say particularly baby mothers, or baby fathers of children, or fathers of mothers. You all know what I mean. But it says, you know, in the courtship manual, to, you know, that you should speak to that person's spouse.
Right.
So, you know, that's along the same lines, and like you said, that's along the same lines as family as well. So yes, most definitely, because you're going to need to be able to work copacetically, and like, you know, you don't want to just pop up 6 months down the line and hey, we're married, you know, come on, got a new mama for you, you know. Yeah. No. So yes, Yes, ma'am. To answer your question, I would definitely recommend that you do try and open up and have a respectable and adult mature dialogue with the parents of their children.
And one thing that I'm noticing, I mentioned this on a previous episode, in the Nation of Islam and just amongst Aboriginal people in general, I'm noticing some really good examples of what they call blended families. I'm really noticing some really good examples. And it's always better and more, fairy tale-ish for nobody to ever get divorced and every relationship to work out and two parents raising, biological children until they, forever and all of that. That's cute and everything, but we all know it just doesn't work out that way. So I commend all the families out there, particularly the Aboriginal families that are successfully maintaining blended families and being mature about it. Because since our families are so destroyed, by things that are out of our control, that's a way of fighting back when we patch up our families by having these blended families. That's a beautiful thing that I'm noticing. We have a question or concern? Okay, all praise is due to Allah. Now we're gonna drop a big one. Here comes a major one. I hope y'all can see that. It's toward the bottom. It's toward the bottom where it asks the question, can a sister ask for a brother in courtship? Man, this is a question we've gotten many a time on the show already. This is just part 6, and let's dig into it. Can a sister ask for a brother in courtship? Survey says, likewise, if a sister sees a brother that she is interested in finding out more about, she would go to her sister captain and make that known. The sister captain would then approach the brother captain, and he would make this known to the brother. If the brother is interested in the sister asking about knowing him better, then the two of them can meet and begin the process of learning about each other. Again, this is coming from a courtship interview with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Phoenix, Arizona, June 30th, 2006. And yes, sisters, yes, I'm going to say it again, yes, you all can take and the first step and do your due diligence and go forward with requesting the brother for courtship. Now, before we go any further, I want to be very clear. I like this topic for one reason. We, as believers in the Nation of Islam, we've heard the two words or the term litmus test, because that's what we call the Farrakhan litmus test, when celebrities and politicians, when they reach a certain level and the media comes and asks them, hey, we saw you took a picture with the minister. What do you think about them? See, that's a litmus test to see just how conscious they really are. But a topic like this, for me, is a litmus test to tell who really understands what courtship is and who doesn't. Sister, if you frowned your face and twisted your lips just at the idea of a sister asking for a brother in courtship, I can almost guarantee you that you have an incorrect outlook on what courtship is. And you still think that it is boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. Notice how it keeps mentioning that the sister lets it be known that she's interested in finding out more about the brother. Then it says it in parentheses again, the sister asking about knowing him better. Not her asking for his hand in marriage. Not her asking him to be her boyfriend. So if you cringe if you squirmed in your seat just a little bit when I read that, then that means you still looking at this thing like it's boyfriend, girlfriend. It's not that. It's not. It's just like sister. When you were in the world and even now, you see a brother and you don't know him from a hole in the wall, but something about him that's attractive to you. You nudge your sister. I grew up with three sisters, so I know how y'all do. You nudge your sister. Oh, girl, who is that? And she either tell you, I don't know, or she say, oh, that's so-and-so's brother from so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. That's all this is saying. That's the same process. Only instead of just your homegirl or your biological sister, it's your sister lieutenant or your sister captain. Sister cap, sister lieutenant. Who is so and so and so and so? Is he available for courtship? And then she goes to her FOI equivalent. The sister lieutenant goes to a brother lieutenant, or the sister captain goes to a brother captain, and then gets those actual facts, and then finds out, without any direct, hinting or flirting. So it's not that different from what you experienced before. It's just a more organized process. But if you squirm or even roll your eyes at the idea of asking for a brother in courtship, then that means you don't know what courtship is. You still think courtship, that's my Muslim boyfriend. No, no, no. Shake that off your mind. All praises due to Allah.
Look here, sisters.
Uh-oh.
General order. General order number 1.
Come on.
Take charge of this post and all temple property in view.
That's right.
So if you,
I like that.
Look here. If you see a brother and based off of his works, not based off of his muscles.
We'll call it works.
Based off of his hair. But based off of his works that you can see, then you feel as though he may be a good mate for you. Look, take charge. Like my husband said, nudge your sister captain, nudge your first lieutenant. Excuse me, sis. I would like to get to know this brother better. As sisters, we're taught that we have 2 wombs. We have a physical womb, the uterus, and we have the mental womb of our mind. And when we have a thought in our mind, you have the vision of this brother, and you're like, this might be a good mate. Look, be it is, kum by a kum, but that and it is means follow through. You've satisfied your mind with the vision, so you're going to tell me that you're not going to take your God protocol and follow through and do what you can do to find out whether or not you just gonna let this be in your mind, this thought, and wait for him. Oh no, man, we are gods in the Nation of Islam. The MGT is the mother of civilization. How could we mother civilization if we're too scared to even get to know somebody better?
Good point.
Get to know somebody better. We gotta say that one more again for the people, because I think, like my husband said, we have that mind. Ooh, I can't ask no brother like it's proposing or it's will you be my man? You know what I'm saying? I remember I was there in the world. I ain't gonna ask him. He gonna ask me. He got about another week. No, it's not that. It is. I want to get to know you better. And what's wrong with that? Come on now.
Yes, ma'am. And with earlier we talked about believers complaining, that they believe somebody is hindering or dragging their feet on the process. So here's a situation where a lot of sisters are dragging their own and hindering their own process by not taking that step forward because they looking at courtship in the wrong light. And let me clear something up, brothers. I'm gonna let the cat out the bag. And most brothers won't even care that I'm gonna let this out because this is just a fact that a lot of sisters don't know. Brothers, we don't think like sisters do. I think a lot of sisters think, well, if I make that first move, he gonna look at me some kind of way. Stop it. Man, that brother will be so relieved. He will be so relieved because he was probably interested in courtship. He might have even been interested in you. And he was playing around with it in his mind, like, how am I gonna do it? Will she accept the request? What's going on? It's so beautiful to a brother when we just out here, living the lifestyle, studying, soldiering, trying to, better ourselves, and then somebody sees us in that process and says, I want to get to know that brother better. That's exciting to the brother. That's exciting to the brother. He ain't gonna look at you like, oh man, she all up on me, man. I'm gonna play games with her for. Listen, if you think a brother's doing that, you lied to yourself. He wasn't playing. He wasn't stringing you along. He just wasn't interested. I'm sorry. He just wasn't interested. If you do that, the brother is not gonna look at you in any. In fact, most brothers that I've talked to, myself included, when we see a sister take charge like that of her post, that's impressive. That's impressive because that lets us know, okay, this is a sister that I'm not going to have to read her mind. If we get married, I'm not going to have ESPN or ESP to know what's going on. I ain't got to sit up there, what's wrong, baby? Oh. Well, if you knew I was wrong, I wouldn't have to tell you. See, we know, okay, that's a sister I don't have to play them games with. You know, if I'm doing wrong, she gonna let me know. If I'm doing right, she gonna let me know. Every man on the planet Earth that is an actual man would love that. So the mystery. Our beloved Western Regional Student Minister, Abdul Malik Saeed, dropped a heavy explosive on us when he explained how God hates mystery. Gods hate mystery. That's really where a lot of gossip comes from, because we don't know the actual facts, so we got to plug something in there, you know, and that's how a lot of rumors start. But we hate mystery. You know, we hate sitting thinking, well, should I, all this, is this the truth? So we gotta get to the reality of things. Like it says in our lessons, the Son of Man searched for trillions of years for this mystery God and determined that there was basically no such thing, that there is no mystery God. So brothers love it when they see a sister expressing her godhood and saying, man, enough of this mystery. Boom, I just want to know what's going on with this brother. You know, that's a huge weight off the brother's back. And I guarantee you, unless he really full of, you know what? Unless he a brother that's really full of that cow dung, he's going to, if nothing else, even if he doesn't accept the request. And sister, if he don't accept the request, don't take it like he don't like you. He don't even know you. It might be something that he's insecure about in his own life. And he felt like, man, if I court her, she going to find out that I've been unemployed for 7 months. You know, and she might not like it. Or she might not think that I'm studied enough. That sister, I seen her, you know, I heard her at study group. She own it, man. She know everything Mother Tynetta said about heart, man. And I'm just on my 3rd lecture of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I can't get with her. So a lot of times we psych ourselves out. So don't take it hard if the brother does not accept the request. Just take that initiative, man. It's just courtship. It's just courtship. It ain't boyfriend, girlfriend. It's right.
We have a comment. One of our striving, hard-working soldiers, Brother Brandon X, right
Go
here
ahead,
in Mosque
Lieutenant.
number 27.
Go ahead, Brother Lieutenant.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you for tuning in.
salam.
Another great support of not just revolutionary relationships, but of
Yes,
NationTown. And sisters, he's single as well.
Yes,
Sorry
he
to
is.
put you out there, brother.
Nah,
I'm look, we just trying
actual,
to get folks
actual
married.
facts.
Actual facts. You know, sisters know. He says, I totally agree. I think that if a sister sees a brother who is pushing the program hard, will respect a sister who takes charge of her post and makes her intentions known. Say that. See, now, sisters, now you're hearing it from a brother's mouth.
That's right.
And this is a real brother, a soldier. My husband soldiers with him, so he can bear witness.
I've never heard a brother say, man, you know, oh man, I can't believe she tried to request me for courtship, man. That's weak, man. I ain't with all that. I ain't never heard a brother come off like that. Ever, 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 ever. What I have seen is a brother scurrying over to me with his tail flapping like a happy dog. Like, man, I heard this sister want to court me. I done seen it with my own eyes. I done seen a sparkle in his eye that I ain't never seen in my life. We love that, sisters. We love. Now, another thing sisters might be worried about, and this is going to be the last topic we jump on before we close out. But another thing I assume sisters might be worried about is how your own fellow sister might look at you. The sister lieutenant or the sister captain that you're reporting this to. You worried, she might look at me kind of funny for me doing that. I might look desperate to my sister. Listen, sister. You don't care about nothing else they think about you. And it ain't about them. It is not about them. And one thing I tell my brothers in the ranks, as a lieutenant, you know, our main job is to teach and train the private soldiers. One thing I tell brothers, it's good to know our protocols, you know, even our constitution, and to know our teaching. So if somebody come to you with Islam or Mislam, you can reach into that and find that source and say, look, this is the actual rule. So that's why we are gladly distributing these copies of the courtship manual. So it might be some sisters that might even go to their sister lieutenant or sister captain and say, hey, I'm interested in that brother. And she say, ooh, sister, you shouldn't do that. You should let him. You should wait till she. that's when you drop this courtship manual on her and say the minister and the messenger said that if we, in fact, the messenger said this, and we got a question or comment, I'm gonna get the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. For those who are a little shaky on that or need a reminder, this brother right here, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said that when a woman chooses a man, and I'm paraphrasing strongly, but when a woman chooses a man, it's more significant than a man choosing a woman.
Yes.
When a woman chooses a man, it has a higher likelihood and higher probability of success because women are better at choosing than men are. So the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the eternal leader of the Nation of Islam, is telling you, sister, to take charge of your post at all temple property in view. And that should be the last, thing that you need to hear as far as that topic is concerned. Go ahead.
Yes, we have a question. Assalamu alaikum, peace and greetings. We have Gabrielle Lopez. She says, what is the proper manner to refuse a request by a woman taking Gabriel, excuse me, that's probably a brother. I apologize. He says, what is the proper manner to refuse a request by a woman taking the first step? Simply, I'm very flattered, but am not interested, question mark, or very delicate situation, isn't it?
Well, from what I understand, the elaboration doesn't have to be relayed because you're going to be responding to your brother captain or brother lieutenant. Your brother lieutenant or brother captain is going to come to you. I've been in a similar situation before I courted my wife, and a particular brother lieutenant came to me with some information about a sister that was interested with getting to know me better, and it was just as simple as me saying yes or no, or saying yeah, I'm cool with it or not cool with it. And whatever my response was going to be, he just goes and relays the brass tacks back to the person that gave him the information, a yay or a nay. So all you don't have to, it's like I said, it's not like the world where she coming up on you, leaning up on your car, saying, so hey baby, how you doing? So I'm trying to see about a courtship thing. It's not that kind of ball game. So you don't have to come up with no nice way to let her down easy. It's just yay or nay. It's just yay. That's why I prefaced it earlier by telling the sisters, don't, because sisters don't have a whole lot of experience with being rejected by us like we have been rejected by y'all. So, because y'all don't put yourselves in that position. That's all right, I understand. But understand this ain't about girlfriend, boyfriend now. But, sister, there are a lot of reasons why he'll say no that don't have nothing to do with his actual interest in you. A lot of times when brothers come into this, let me be very clear. When brothers come into this lifestyle and they see a striving MGT, for a lot of brothers, that scares the hell out of them. They respect you from each end of the earth, but they respect you so much that sometimes we allow that respect to scare the hell out of us, and we think, man, if I ain't Farrakhan, she gonna laugh me out of the courtship. We gonna go on our first little, outing together, and she gonna ask me how much I make, and if I say anything less than 75 G's, she gonna laugh and throw some water in my face and drill out the door like a vanguard. It's like, no. Some of us got crazy thoughts like that in our mind. Like, oh man, on our first outing, she gonna quiz me on the supreme wisdom, and if I get one word wrong, she gonna laugh at me and post it on Facebook. We got them kind of thoughts in our mind because we have so much. When we see y'all, it's the amount of reverence and respect and the beauty of an MGT, especially just living the life and striving, we put y'all on the pedestal as we should, but sometimes we let that pedestal intimidate us. So sometimes the brother's refusal is not based on he don't know you enough to like you or not like. He just might not feel that he himself is ready to take that step in courting the second self of Allah. But brother, if you're not interested, just make that be known. And here's what I would do. When you see that sister, after you've, politely turned down the court, you relayed that information to the brother lieutenant or whoever relayed it. When you see that sister, give her a warm, brotherly greeting. Don't look at her funny. Don't be, don't feel like, oh man, I don't even want to see her because, I rejected her. Give her a warm greeting. Even if she even if she's shooting bullets out her eyes at you, look at this nigga, who he think he is, still give her a warm greeting, and in due time y'all go back to being brother and sister, and it's all good. And if y'all both mature, y'all instantly go back to being brother and sister with no issue whatsoever. But yeah, brother, just there's no extras you have to put on it. Just let them know. Don't give no ambiguous, vague answer like, let me think about it. Let me see what's going on. I got a checking account and a savings account. Don't do all of that. Just say, listen, I'm ready, cool. What's next? Or I'm not ready, but I may be ready later, or just not right now. Just be right down. Just get right down to the actual facts and move on from there. Any other comments before we move on?
We have, I just want to say, hey Dad, my daddy's watching you guys.
I'm like Pops.
And we have Brother Brandon X Clay again. Indeed, the pedestal feels high sometimes, but it's not them, it's us.
Right.
Yes, sir.
It's definitely, and I don't really see nothing wrong with us putting them on a pedestal in our mind, but just understand you on your own pedestal too. We're equally yoked. We on the same path. But don't psych yourself out. You never know, man. You never. And let's also, brothers and sisters, and I'll close with this. Let's be fair. Let's be fair to each other, man. Because we all coming out the world. I don't care if you're born in the nation or whatever. You still spent more time in the world than you did in the mosque, no matter what. So we all coming out the world. And you got sisters who will, quote unquote, date raggedy Negroes. And that sister know he ain't worth a damn. He ain't even that good at PlayStation, and that's all he do. His Madden game ain't even on point, but that's all he do. He unemployed. He sell a little bit of weed on the side, but he smoke more than he sell. And there's brothers out there who give their time of day to some, I ain't gonna say raggedy sisters, but just some sisters that need work. So when you come into the ranks, keep that same energy, man. Understand that we all striving. Don't try to look at that brother like, how is he Farrakhan? You ain't Farrakhan. We all supposed to be Farrakhan.
That's right.
Male and female. Where you at on your Farrakhan scale? So just understand that we all bit by the same dog. We all destroyed, and we all putting it together. And that's the biggest positive for FOI and MGT, is that we done made the conscious decision to say, okay, this white man's world done kicked my ass, pardon my English, but I'm ready to get back up off the mat and fight back. That's what we've all made the decision to do when we come into this lifestyle. So that should be enough to give each other the benefit of the doubt. So unless we have any other questions or comments, you have anything you want to say, dear Queen? All praises due to Allah. I want to thank all of you for another beautiful episode. Yes. Revolutionary Relationships, Courtship Process, Part 7. We're going to deal with more of these topics on pages 25 and so on. We're not really going in order from top to bottom on the courtship manual, but we will cover it all eventually. But I want to thank all of you for tuning in. I want to remind you also that my big head as well as my queen are also featured on NFA Studios, Love and Black. The latest episode has recently been released. Go ahead and download NFA Studios. If you don't have NFA Studios, man, and especially if you Aboriginal, if you Black, Hispanic, Native American, and especially if you're in the Nation of Islam, it's $9.99 a month. You're gonna spend more than that tomorrow just getting just at Starbucks, which you ain't even supposed to be messing with. And you pay more than that for Netflix. So make sure you hitting up our beloved NFA Studios. Also, don't forget, NationTownStore.com. Free delivery to your doorstep. And looks like we do have one more question before we get out of here. And we're going to touch on that real quick. Go ahead and read that for us, dear Queen.
My sister coming with those bombs as usual. Sister Pamela K. Muhammad, she says, when should courtmates reveal more personal things? And that's a great question, sister. I know myself, I had like a list. My list of questions were in priority. And I went straight to the meat of things first. Because
Right
if
for the
you
jugular.
cannot, if you can't cover these things, like these were like my black and white. It's either yes or no, there's no in between. You know, so I went straight to those first because those were my priority. And if that's just me, because I didn't want to mess around and, you know, ask you little baby questions. Oh, you know, what's your favorite color, and these are little baseline questions. And, you know, oh, I like you off of that, and then we're 3 months in and I get to the real stuff, and then you're like, well, nah, you know, I don't do that. I don't pay no charity. I don't go to the mosque. You know, I'll be at FOI class. I roll up in there once a year. You know, what? Huh? No. But I already have a like for you. You know, let's get the real stuff out there first and foremost. You know, because I remember I had asked in a courtship a deep question real early off, and I got a reaction like, you ain't supposed to be asking that, sister. I'm like,
it wasn't me.
Sorry,
it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It wasn't him. He's still here.
It wasn't me.
But I was like, oh, pardon me. So that told me a lot. You know, I'm like, so when I'm supposed to wait a year down the line for I answer, this is important to me.
Pay attention to the answers, to all the
right,
answers.
pay attention to
There's
the answer
nothing,
and just the spirit of which is given.
Right. There's nothing that's off the table in courtship. We talking about a major endeavor. Supposedly spending the rest of your life with this person and building a nation. Only caveat to discussing all this stuff with your brother or your sister is that when the courtship is over, whether it ends in marriage or it just ends in y'all going y'all separate way, everything y'all discussed is private. You know, you can do like she just did, and you can mention something that was discussed, but don't say no names, don't bring nothing up, but keep it private. You know, brother told you, you know what I mean, that he used to eat dirt when he was 8 years old. Keep that. Don't go telling people, oh, brother so-and-so over there, he look like he all that now, but he used to eat dirt and worms back in the day. You know, don't go and don't put no information out there after the fact. Let it be, leave whatever is discussed in courtship, stays in that courtship. If the courtship does not end in marriage, fine. And especially if it does end in marriage, you still don't tell nobody what was discussed in the courtship. Keep all of that private, but nothing is off the table. And I think that even goes more so with the sisters. Sisters, you deserve to know everything you could possibly ask that brother. Brothers too, but especially sisters, because you're being asked to submit, not to necessarily that brother, but the God in that brother. And to show him a certain amount of respect as your husband if y'all become married. So you deserve to know who this is that you supposedly submitting to in the most righteous way of thinking. So nothing is off the table. Don't leave nothing off. This ain't, like she said, it ain't about, oh, what's your favorite color? You know, what's your favorite lecture of the minister? That's a good question, but go deeper than that. Go deeper than that. Find out, ask them, and this is a big point. This is an agreement we made in our courtship that I strongly recommend to everybody. First of all, start writing down all your questions now. Even if you feel like you're a long way from courtship or whatever, stop psyching yourself out talking about, oh, I'm not ready yet. Get ready now and write down all the things that you absolutely need to know about, you know, the person that you may court, even though you don't even know who that person is yet. But be prepared to answer the same kinds of questions that you're asking. Right. We made a deal that anything one person asked, we would have to answer ourselves. So if I asked her something, you know, I had to answer the same question as it pertained to me. So don't throw nothing out there, even if it's like a measuring question, like, you know, how much money do you make and all of that. Okay. You should follow up their answer with your answer to your own question, you know, and see how silly you sound, you know, even if it's the brother asking it. But sister, if you're trying to gauge how much money he makes and, you know, how much money you make, and he says, oh, sister, right now I'm doing about 50, 60 a year, you know, Now you got to come with yours. How silly you gonna look? Oh well, I'm on government assistance, but see now, you know what I mean, and that'll automatically humble you to say, well, we both struggling in this white man's world together. So, even though I wanted somebody who made 6-7 figures, you know what, I got some work to do myself. So don't ask any questions, any types of questions that you wouldn't yourself answer. That's not fair. So it ain't just you interrogating them, but it's also a two-way process. So nothing should be off the table. Nothing should be off. Anything a husband and a wife would talk about should be talked about in the courtship. The only thing I would say hold off on until later is anything that's of a sexual nature. You should discuss that, but discuss it in a mature fashion, not in yeah, baby, so what you got on? None of that. But I would say save that for later, because even just talking about sex can be intoxicating, much less doing it. So, keep that stuff till later, but everything should be on the table, because you deserve to know who this dude is, who this sister is, because y'all going into something that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said is a matter of national security. And when he says that, to me, that's not just for the registered Nation of Islam. That's for Aboriginal people, period. Right. If our families are busted up and broke down and raggedy, it ain't no way we stand a chance against this white man, even though his time expired in 1914. If all our families are, that's our problem now. That's our real issue. It ain't this, it ain't reparations, it ain't that, it ain't businesses, it ain't this and that. And we coming from busted up families. And I'm not just talking about divorce, I'm just saying families that are just rooted in foolishness, man, and not in any type of science and logic. That's our issue. So we not playing with something it's not a game, it's real. So everything is on the table.
Yes. And there are some some heavy hitter questions that the courtship manual gives you. There's questions about finances,
We're going to touch on some of them, too.
They give you a whole, inside of the courtship manual, it gives you a whole list, a whole slew of questions. And what I would also say, sis beloved, is that, when you answer your questions, ask your questions, but put little details, specifics in those questions as well. You might get an answer, okay, get more detailed, get more specific. Like you said, sister, she said, I'm going to ask everything. Ask everything. Ask it all. And ask it more than once. If you've ever taken a personality test, I've taken many for jobs and Scientology and things of that nature, you will see, you're like, did you just ask me this question 3 times, 3 different ways? Do the same thing in your courtship. And like she said, my sister beloved Pamela K said, I'm going to keep a journal. I'm going to have a notebook. I did too.
Definitely.
Yes, have your notebook. And if, by Allah's will, that courtship blossoms into a marriage, that's going to be great for your marriage as well. You got your little study book, because you're going to have to study your husband. You're going to keep him, keep him in the forefront of your mind, and those things, they have something to go back upon.
Keep in mind, if you go into any courtroom, especially during a full drawn out trial, there's always a stenographer. There's always a court reporter that's writing down everything that's being said, and there's always an actual register of actions of everything that took place in that case. So, keeping good records is important. But I say to all those who are even thinking about courtship, start writing down the questions that you would want to ask and that you're willing to answer. Start writing them down now. Everything that's really important to you, start asking them now. So that way, even if you find yourself in a courtship with somebody that's just really cute, you still will ask those same questions. And then that way, you're less likely to get, distracted by how cute she is, how cute he is, or who you think they are and what you want them to be. Get some ironclad questions right now together, so that way when you get into the courtship, you hit the ground running, you dig deep right off the bat. No softballs. Come hard. Come at him hard. Go hard in the paint from the beginning. Right. If it's too much for him, good. That's what you need to know. You need to know that right
and
on top.
I'll close with this. Right? Have situational questions. You know, if the minister departed tomorrow, you know, and we went to the mosque and wasn't nobody there, what would you do?
Come on.
What are we gonna do? What's our family's plan?
That's good.
You know, if you lost your job 6 months before Savior's Day, you know, what would we do? Are we still going to Savior's Day? Are we still paying Savior's Day gift? What's your plan? Have situational questions.
Come on.
Get imaginative with it.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
get creative with it.
And deal with worst case scenarios.
Right.
Deal with worst case scenarios and be realistic in your answers and pay attention to how they answer, you know, all those questions. If they give you something vague or something that's real cookie cutter, take note of that, you know, and just pay very close attention, because it's not a game, it's not boyfriend, girlfriend. It's a courtship and it's a court proceeding. With that said, dear brothers and sisters, we thank you. We almost coming up on 2 hours. Didn't mean to go this long, but that's a beautiful participation from the viewers, as always, but probably more so on this one than ever before. Tune in next Sunday. And we're going to definitely get it in. We want to narrow it down Sundays. Tune in next Sunday for Revolutionary Relationships. We want to narrow it down to a particular time slot. We're going to see what works out best, but we want to get as consistent as possible so we can make sure that we are better serving our viewers. With that said, dear brothers and sisters, we are going to leave you as we greeted you, with the words of peace. Thank you all for viewing. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
I was told to deliver this message. I was told to deliver this message.